This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome to Family Hour. This is Church of Uganda Family TV and you're watching Family Hour. It's a new week. We want to thank God for the weeks so far that we have moved in this year of 2025, and we want to thank God for today, last week, today, and the rest of the days, because we believe that since it's a fresh week, there is a lot that the Lord is going to do in our lives. So we keep the hope, because our hope is only in Him. But we believe that the fact that you're listening to this voice, you're watching this image, we thank God who has granted you an opportunity to see the beauty of today. So that means you are alive. And that is a reason to say thank you to the Almighty. Here we are with our Monday edition of Family Hour, where we deal with education and career growth. But of course, today we are talking about things that are happening in the education world. Of course, we know that some senior ones have reported, others have not yet reported. Senior 5s will also report soon. The other cohort of students are reported sometime back, but we know that up to now we have parents that are still struggling with school fees. Parents are worried where to get the school fees from. The schools have already started making these phone calls. Hey, your commitment date has reached, you've not yet done anything. I mean, there is a lot, but also some parents are still in a mess of interpreting the results that were recently released. They don't know whether their children passed or not.
They were released yesterday.
So we are just there in space. But now we want to really get to how we can overcome, especially the anxieties. Actually, these anxieties are even taking up the teachers themselves. The First Lady highlighted that up to now some schools are still teaching in the old curriculum. So teachers are worried what they are going to do, what they are going to explain to the parents whose children's results were not really that good. But anyway, getting to our discussion today, our panelists are here. We have Canon Alice. It's a pleasure having you this evening.
Thank you very much, Edwin. Good evening, viewers.
Mrs. Kintu, it's a pleasure
Happy
having
New
you.
Year.
Indeed, you've not been here since they started. Mrs. Kintu, it's a pleasure having you this evening.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you and to everyone who's watching us this evening.
Wow. Now getting into our discussion, I'll start with congratulating Canon.
Thank you very much.
Upon the victory that you celebrated as St. Mark's College.
Thank you very much. I just want to say, like you said, when the First Lady mentioned that some teachers are still teaching the old curriculum, I think one of the greatest things that we should learn that as the education institutions, that change should be a part of us. So when the new curriculum was started, of course people didn't know what it was all about or how they were going to be able to embrace it and put it into practice. Because for so many years it was the old curriculum. And of course when you are accustomed to something, they say old habits die hard. But one of the things that we appreciated the change, and on the onset, we started retooling the teachers. Because we realized that it's a very good curriculum that actually will enable our students going forward to be a different generation.
Yes. You're the second person I've heard who is an educationist who's talking about how good this curriculum is.
Yes.
I think they should employ you and that other person, who I choose not to mention, to be the ambassadors for this new curriculum.
Yes.
Of course, some of us who are not in the school workplace may not be able to understand it fully.
Yes.
But for me, what excited me, even without being right in the middle of the game, is that people can know what to keep going with,
Yes.
and what not to keep going with.
Yes.
This grading, I liked it. It tells you your gifts are not here.
Exactly.
Try here.
Yes.
So that people do not, oftentimes people waste a lot of time. You find that in the 2 years of higher,
Yeah, advanced level.
yeah, the kids are moving in and out and then
Yes.
throwing this and then picking it up again
Yes.
because they are not absolutely certain about where their gifting
Yes.
lies.
Yes.
But this grading, however new it may be,
Yes.
if we allow change, like you said, embracing change is very good. And if you do not change, if you do not allow change to work in your life, there's a way in which you stagnate and die.
Exactly.
So let's allow the change and receive it and embrace it and then use it to move forward.
Yes.
I was happy to see, at least I saw results of a few people that I know, and I was happy that they can quickly know where their strengths are and where their weaknesses are and what they need to move forward with.
That's really interesting, and picking it up from there. From a parent's perspective, you were glad, you interpreted the results. We have parents who started making calls here and there because to them, as long as they saw result one, they thought that is first grade. And then later they told them, now there's what is A, what is B, what is D. Is D the D one that we knew? So, but
there's a Luganda saying which says, "Wekumire mukumanya."
Okay.
It is always very good to try and discover what you don't know, so that at the end of a day, any day, you know something more than you knew in the morning.
Yes.
Learn something new every day. So immediately I saw these results. They were strange, but I went on to sit down and look everywhere that I could find information to help me interpret these results. And after reading about 3 or 4 posts, I was in the know and I was comfortable. The problem is there are some of us whose minds are like blocked. You don't want to know. No, listen, this thing is actually, is it tombulia, and we are negative, and that is the anxiety that we build for ourselves that perhaps we want to talk about today. How you respond to whatever situation, whether it's change, whether it is an unexpected news, whether it is failure to attain your goals, how you respond really matters, and it trickles down to the people who are looking up to you to be the answer to the questions. For example, school fees. If you have not been able to get school fees for your child or your people you are helping, and you're all worked up, what do you expect the child to do? What do you expect the teacher to do? Because the teacher is sitting and waiting for you to show up with your child. But you're anxious, you're worked up, the child is also anxious, they don't know what they are going to do, you know, and the whole thing is a mess. We need to, learn to manage ourselves in order to manage whatever things God is bringing in our life. A day at a time. So if we read right now, we have social media which we didn't have before. There's so many ways people have tried to explain this. They put it in table form, they've put it colorfully, they've done this, they explained A, B up to E. So really, we have no excuse to say, because I don't understand, therefore it's not worth it.
Karen,
Yes, please.
as the schools are open,
Yes.
what are some of the common causes of anxiety, especially among the learners that are at school currently?
One of the things that actually puts students in a panic mode, expectation from parents. Then also, each time you are navigating uncharted waters, it also builds anxiety. The other thing that also builds anxiety among students or children is the social relationships. They're living home, which is a safe haven, and then they actually don't know how it's going to happen at school, because there are so many things that happen.
The unknown.
The unknown. So the fear of the unknown builds a lot of anxiety among students, among parents, because when you listen into their conversations, or if you see a young child crying when they're getting to school, you begin asking them, why are you crying? You're living on, I'm scared. What are you scared about? It's always the unknown. But one of the things we need to train ourselves as parents, as children, is put your mind on the present. Focus on the present. You know, we are going back to school. Let's prepare for school, and also to inform them that school has a lifetime. You're not going to be in school for the rest of...
It's not forever.
It's not forever. So when a child understands that we are here for a certain purpose.
For a season.
And for a season, let's work towards that. The other thing that I've also observed among our children are the things they carry from home. If there was conflict at home, they're going to carry that burden with them. Because we have not allowed our children to be children, and we have not set emotional boundaries for them. So they watch everything that happens in our lives.
We unleash everything to them.
We unleash everything to them. They come knowing that daddy does not have money, or daddy does not have a job, or daddy does not have this, or mommy cannot afford this, or it's mommy who is paying my school fees that is doing nothing. They have all that, and they carry it in their young hearts. And they don't even know what to do, because what is the best that they can do? Maybe cry, maybe pray for you, but there isn't much more that they can do.
Maybe side with one of you.
Or maybe side with one of you and then feel like if dad is not doing enough, he's not worth it. You know, it is mommy doing everything. So these are some of the things that we have experienced. So the challenges that they pick from home, the fear of the unknown at school, and how they're going to be able to navigate the two things.
May I say something?
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry to interrupt you. But it is important because you brought it up.
Yes.
If you have a misunderstanding or a situation which is not normal between a husband and a wife, and you have children, I want to implore the parents at the beginning of this year 2025, do whatever is within your power to protect your child from the issues, your adult issues. Do whatever is within your power to protect your children from the adult issues. You may be so angry with your husband. You may be so angry with your wife. You may have had conflicts that are 10 years old, 20 years old, whatever. It doesn't matter. But as long as you have children between you, it is your responsibility to create a safe haven for them. Let them not be party to whatever it is that has brought conflict. Watching me are some parents who have chosen to use these children as tools for the battlefield.
Yes.
Say, you know? So they will make it difficult for you to access the child. They will make it difficult. They'll come and blast the child simply because they remember that you conflicted with them and they have no control of their anxiety, and all they are doing is hurting the child. Ladies and gentlemen who are listening to me this evening, your issues, your adult issues, whatever they are, should never be passed on to your children. Allow them to grow in grace. Allow them to be brought up in grace. Do not use them as tools for conflict. Do not use them as tools to get what you want. That is a very selfish attitude, and God will never forgive you for that. I'm sorry to declare. God will never forgive you when you intentionally make it difficult for your child simply because you have a misunderstanding with your spouse or with whoever, the father or the mother of your children.
I just want to quickly add.
Yes.
God will definitely forgive you. But I'll tell you,
if you confess.
If you confess,
yes,
He'll forgive you and is willing to forgive you. But the seeds that you have sown, thou shalt reap. You are going to reap those seeds, whether you like it or not. So I think when we are doing all these things, I was reading a scripture. It is in Proverbs 4 or 5, and saying, lend your ear to understanding, and discretion will preserve you. And knowledge will be close to your lips. Lend your ear to understanding. Meaning that the moment that you understand that if I compromise my little Linda by having her part as a tool to fight my spouse, 20 years from now, Linda will use the same tools against me. Or whatever happens in her marital space is going to affect me directly. And that will be painful for any parent as they are growing older, because they want stability, they want emotional stability, they want to feel like their children, wherever they are, they're at peace with themselves. But because you planted that seed, she's aware that at one point she was used so she can still use her own children. Or your little son was used, he can still use his own children. So for me...
To manipulate.
Yeah, to manipulate. And so for me, it's like, let's be cautious. Let's be cautious. Let's give our children a safe haven. If I don't have enough money, or if I don't have enough school fees, there are so many avenues that we can use so that my child can have emotional stability and financial security to say Daddy is in charge. All these head teachers have a listening ear. Go there before the term begins and have a payment plan so that your child can come back to school on time. There is nothing as traumatizing as having this child having to go back for school fees. That is one of the things they dread the most. As lists are passing, it's like they are going to call me out again. And immediately the anxiety begins. It will build. A child will be able to perform well. They may fail to perform well. So there are so many things that we can do as parents to help our children to not to be engrossed or a part of the anxiety space. Because I strongly believe that every problem has a solution. But you have to look for that solution. It will not find you where you are. So
let me just read the scripture you mentioned.
Okay.
Proverbs chapter 5 verse 1 and 2.
2, yes.
My son, attend unto my wisdom and bow your ear to my understanding, that you may regard discretion and that your lips may keep knowledge.
Exactly. Wow, thank you very
Proverbs
much.
5, 1 and 2.
Verse 1 and 2. I love it. Lend your ear to understanding. And discretion. You know, when we talk about discretion, we talk about your attitudes, your actions, your words. Thinking hard about consequences before you engage. Before you carry a bad attitude and saying that I'm going to fight my husband with using my child. That kind of attitude, think of the consequences. Then discretion is going to preserve you. If it's an action, if it's a word, think hard. If I say this thing, is it going to bring life or destruction? Now, when you think about the consequences, you're going to be preserved. You'll create a safe haven for the children. And anxiety will be something in the distant future for them because they are children. There is very little. Because we can talk about anxiety, we'll have it from their peers, but it's detrimental if it's coming from adults, teachers or parents.
And in my interaction with adults, many of them will bring to recollection things that happened to them when they were 3, 4, 5 years, where in reality you'd imagine a child cannot remember. But those things contain something that remains with them forever. So how we treat our children, how we treat anybody that is under our charge because of the circumstances. Don't allow, in maturity, we don't allow the circumstances surrounding us to influence our behavior.
Does this have does this in any way affect this child while at school in pursuing their education?
Yes, it does. A great deal. I don't know what example to give, but you can see a child who is present but absent in a classroom, for example. Then you ask them, what is it? What are you thinking about? And then you see they start to cry. Is it something I said on the blackboard? Is it because you have not understood a concept? What is happening? And then the child will, okay, if it's possible for you, you take that child away from the rest so that you can engage them. And then they tell you about an incident that happened, and that despite the fact that they are now in school and settled in, night and day they worry about their mother and about the way they are being treated and about You know, some of them have been abused by their fathers as a condition for their school fees to be paid. We have talked to people like that. So really, anyway, the ultimate goal is do not hurt that child of God, because those children are created in the image of God. Let's not use our own problems to hurt the others, these young people. It's not their responsibility. Let's man up or woman up to the responsibilities that are required of us. Take anxiety into our church, collect ourselves together, and learn how to venture through without hurting the younger generation.
Canon, this year we've had significantly two instances that have really caught the public. One was a boy who committed suicide in Western Uganda, and according to the caption around the story, that the parents were forcing him to bathe. He had, for that particular incident, he had spent like 4 days without bathing, and then to the parents it was worse. So they forced him to go and bathe, and he decided to take rat poison, and he ended his life. But also there's this other incident that is recent, where a girl and the parents never agreed. So
on the school transfer.
Because
the boyfriend was
because the parents want to take her to a single school. She wants a mixed school, but the reason behind, she wants to keep contact with the boyfriend, who is a motorcycle mechanic somewhere. And because of that disagreement, she decided to burn herself, and eventually she died. What is your say about these two instances?
What I would want to say is very, very unfortunate to have those incidents, and I would want to anchor into my experiences. Those children, or I would call them children, at that point, their minds are so young to think, because they are thinking, they are not hurting themselves, they're actually hitting back at you as a parent. I am telling you, they will do something. I'll give you an example whereby a child will intentionally do something so that they are expelled from school, so that you feel it as a parent. And even as they are walking away, they have the satisfaction that now, Nachikoze, deal with it. But these are the conversations we need to have with our children. Of course, because being hygienic and clean is very important. How old was that child that his parents could not sit him down to let him know how important it is for him to be clean? Because I strongly believe that probably he just didn't want to bathe because maybe he's a boy. When it gets to water, they think twice before water touches their bodies. But probably it's something very simple when you ask them, who is your model? And then you ask them, does your model take a bath or not? Can you establish that you can have a model? Or even talking about their dreams. I want to be this. Can you be that?
As a future CEO, how will you show up?
How will you show up when you can't bathe? So it is a mindset thing, and it is very easy to have those children think differently.
To engage them.
Yeah, just engage them. And I always tell parents, if you cannot do it right, there is somebody out there
who can do it for you.
Look for that person and tell them willingly. Because I remember back in the day when we were still young, if your singer came and there are certain vices you have, you come back when that has been addressed. This one doesn't want to do this. So we did not have the professional counselors or the professional people to meet those needs. But within the community, within the society, that's why as we are growing up, everybody was mama, everybody was tat, as long as you are an adult.
Exactly.
Who is the same age with your parents. So that if whatever you did was not acceptable in society, that tata or mama at that time will address it.
There was a drunkard at our village. Drunkard, and he smoked. But one day he found my brothers had rolled up papers and were pretending. They just lit a fire. The drunkard beat them. Beat them from the point where he found them to home. And he was blaming them for something that he himself did. But he felt that he had every right.
Exactly.
And he punished them thoroughly for it. And for me, when I thought about it years later, I said, you know, but he knew he was doing a wrong thing. And he knew as a parent he had a responsibility.
Exactly. Because he understood the consequences of that. Now also for these children, this daughter of ours who chooses to commit suicide by burning herself because she wants to be next to a motorcycle, you know, boyfriend. When I was at school, I asked my students and asked them, I want each one of you to think, let's think for 1 minute, the person that you would be in future. Because I keep telling them, today, probably you're 14, you're in senior 2. 10 years from now,
you'll be 24.
24, whether you like it or not. And we assume at 24, you'll have finished university. Then 34, probably you already have your home, and as a parent, as a mother. Now let's go back to 14. We are 14 today. Great? So let's have a mental picture of the person that you want to be at 24.
And how you're going to work towards it.
And how you're going to work towards it. And I would tell them that if you make the choice of that person, I want you to relay, in the event that you are 24 and you're a lawyer or a medical doctor or an engineer, would you still find that person suitable? Let's not even go out there. Let's talk to ourselves. That peer, that Bosco, and you, Mary. Would you still feel like Bosco is relevant to you? Let's talk about Bosco's character. He's a playboy, you know, because for him at that age, he feels like he should have 4 girlfriends. That's what gives him the muscle. He doesn't have money. He's always the last in class. He's unclean. He's a bully. He's a what? At 24, 10 years from now,
would you want to identify?
With him? And these are some of the, like I said, it's
create scenarios
for them before they. And I always tell them, when you mess up at 14, hey, you always get
less than
what you deserve. And when you're at 24, you feel like you deserve better. But because you made a wrong choice at 14, when you had a young mind and so on, at 24 you regret that you made a wrong choice. So let's preserve ourselves. At 24 we'll be old enough to say, okay, you go. But that means now what he? And they don't want to hear that. Because their dreams are so big. So these are things that, and like I say, if you don't know what to do, reach out to people out there. We're in the
Let them help you to do it.
Help you to do. We are in a church community. I think one of the wealthiest places, much as they say the wealthiest place is the grave, but I'll tell you one of the wealthiest places that we have is church. And people are going to do it for free, and they're going to bring back your child on board. The other thing that parents, that we do to our own detriment, is to give people an impression that back home I have angels. When you have little devils all over, all of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
Yeah.
So if your child is challenged, it is okay. They are not the first, they are not the last. Seek help so that we can be able to help our children and address these issues.
We are taking a short commercial break, but we are returning back. This conversation is really very, very important, especially at a time when parents have abandoned their responsibilities when it gets to parenting. All they get is carry the child, take them to school, from school to home, and that is all. We are taking a short commercial break. We shall be back.